I'm Mackenzie Taylor, 23, and I never expected to open my door to police officers on a Tuesday evening. Ma'am, we're here about a theft report filed by Karen and Robert Taylor. My own parents reported me for theft. The stolen item, a $2 check my grandparents gave me for my student loans. The same parents who couldn't be bothered to attend my college graduation 2 weeks ago now wanted my money, and they were willing to involve law enforcement to get it. This was just the latest chapter in their lifelong book of betrayal. Before I dive into this story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments, hit that like button if you've ever dealt with family drama, and subscribe to join our community of survivors and thrivers. Now let me take you back to where it all began. Growing up in Fairfield, Ohio, our 2-story colonial house in a quiet suburban neighborhood looked perfect from the outside. My mother, Karen, worked as a dental assistant, and my father, Robert, was a sales manager at a local car dealership. My younger brother, Jason, now 19, completed our seemingly ideal family portrait. But behind closed doors, our family dynamic was anything but picture perfect. From my earliest memories, my parents exercised tight control over every aspect of my life. My curfew was always earlier than my friends. My phone was regularly inspected. My social media accounts required parental approval until I was 18. Meanwhile, Jason enjoyed freedom I could only dream of. At 14, he could stay out until 10 p.m. while I, at 16, had to be home by 9. He got a smartphone in 6th grade. I didn't get one until sophomore year of high school. Boys need more freedom to develop independence, my mother would say, whenever I pointed out the double standard. Girls need protection. What they called protection, I experienced as suffocation. The financial disparity was even more glaring. When Jason wanted expensive hockey equipment, my parents found the money. When I needed a laptop for school projects, I was told to save up. This pattern continued throughout my childhood. My brother's wants were treated as necessities, while my needs were luxuries. I should fund myself. By sophomore year, I was working every weekend at Fletcher's Diner, saving every dollar I could for college. My parents had made vague promises about helping with tuition, but I'd learned not to rely on their word. My bank account slowly grew as I picked up extra shifts during summers and school breaks. I maintained a 4 gigapascals despite working 20 hours weekly, determined to qualify for scholarships. My friend Amber was my emotional rock during those years. Her family, warm, supportive, consistent, showed me what healthy family dynamics looked like. After particularly frustrating arguments with my parents, I'd escape to Amber's house, where her mom would make us hot chocolate and remind me that my future was my own to build. The first major betrayal came during my senior year of high school. I'd saved nearly $8,000 for college, an impressive sum for a teenager. Then, one evening, my father sat me down with an unusual display of vulnerability. Mackenzie, the dealership is going through a rough patch, and I'm short on my sales quota this month. Your mother and I need to borrow some money to cover the mortgage, he explained. Just $3,000. We'll pay you back with interest before you leave for college. Against my better judgment and Amber's warnings, I transferred the money to them. That loan was never repaid. When I brought it up before leaving for college, my mother acted offended. After all we've done for you, raising you and putting a roof over your head, you're counting pennies. That's gratitude for you, she sniffed. That moment crystallized my decision to attend State University 300 miles and a 5-hour drive from home. The distance wasn't accidental. I needed space to breathe, to discover who I was beyond the confines of my parents' control. When acceptance letters arrived, my parents pushed for the local community college. I stood my ground. With my scholarship covering 60% of tuition and my savings, what remained of them covering first-year housing, I packed my belongings and embraced independence. Arriving at State University's sprawling campus felt like stepping into a new dimension. My freshman dorm room was tiny, with cinder-block walls and a window overlooking the quad, but it represented something invaluable: freedom. For the first time, I could make decisions without justification or permission. I could stay up late studying without being accused of wasting electricity. I could eat when I was hungry rather than when family dinner was scheduled. I declared a major in business administration with a concentration in marketing during my sophomore year. Numbers and creative strategy came naturally to me, and the program had excellent connections with employers. While many classmates complained about required courses, I absorbed everything, knowing each credit hour represented my hard-earned dollars and future opportunities. Dr. Rebecca Williams, my introduction to marketing professor, quickly became a mentor. After I earned the highest grade on our first major project, she invited me to her office hours. "You have natural talent for this field, Mackenzie," she told me, leaning back in her chair. "But more importantly, you have grit. I'd like to recommend you for our department's internship program next semester." Under Dr. Williams' guidance, I secured competitive internships each year, building an impressive resume while my peers were still figuring out their paths. I worked 25 hours weekly at the campus bookstore to cover living expenses carefully, budgeting every dollar. My parents called occasionally, conversations filled with surface-level pleasantries and subtle digs about my expensive college choice. I came home for holidays during freshman year but found the old controlling patterns immediately resurfaced. By sophomore year, I limited visits to brief weekends. The contrast between my financial struggles and my brother's cushioned existence became even more pronounced. During spring break of my junior year, my parents surprised Jason with a brand new Ford Mustang for his 18th birthday. I learned about it through an Instagram post while eating ramen in my apartment, having just paid my portion of rent with the last of my bookstore paycheck until next payday. That same month, my laptop, essential for coursework and already 4 years old, died completely. When I called home explaining my predicament and asking if they might help with the $800 replacement, my mother sighed dramatically. "We just spent so much on your brother's car. Maybe you should have saved better," she suggested. I ended up taking out a small personal loan to buy a refurbished model. Junior year brought another bright spot into my life, Travis Henderson. We met in advanced marketing strategy, where his analytical mind complemented my creative approach on group projects. Quiet and thoughtful, with kind brown eyes, Travis came from a large, close-knit family in Pennsylvania. After dating for several months, he invited me home for Thanksgiving. Watching him interact with his parents and 4 siblings, the good-natured teasing, the genuine interest in each other's lives, the unconditional support was both beautiful and painful. It highlighted everything missing from my own family dynamics. "Your parents are amazing," I told him as we drove back to campus. "They're pretty great," he agreed. "But they've taken a strong liking to you too. Mom's already asked if you're coming for Christmas." Having a boyfriend who understood ambition was refreshing. Travis never complained when I needed to study or work extra hours. Instead, he'd bring coffee to my late-night study sessions or cook dinner when deadlines loomed. His steady presence became my anchor. The second major betrayal came during the summer before senior year. After 3 years of minimal financial discussion, my parents called with unexpected news. "We've been thinking," my mother began, "since you're doing so well and we're in a better financial position now, we'd like to help with your senior year tuition. We can contribute $10,000 to reduce your final loans." The offer left me speechless. Perhaps they'd finally recognized my hard work. Maybe our relationship was evolving. I adjusted my loan applications accordingly, declining an extra $10 0 student debt. 2 weeks before fall semester began, I called to arrange the promised tuition transfer. My father answered, his voice oddly hesitant. "About that money. There's been a change of plans. Jason decided to enroll in technical college for automotive design, and his program requires specialized tools and materials. As his parents, we need to prioritize getting him started right." The familiar sting of disappointment burned my eyes. "You promised, Dad." "I've already declined additional loans based on your commitment." "Don't be dramatic, Mackenzie. You've managed fine so far. Take out another loan, you'll have a good job soon enough to pay it back. I scrambled to reapply for loans with the semester, starting imminently. The financial aid office, sympathetic but constrained by deadlines, could only offer partial assistance. I took on a second job bartending at a local restaurant 4 nights weekly, working nearly 40 hours on top of my full course load. Despite these obstacles, I maintained my GPA and excelled in my internship at Rivers Marketing Group. By spring, they offered me a full-time position upon graduation, a testament to my determination to succeed, regardless of my parents' unreliability. The job would start at $58,000, with benefits finally giving me financial stability. As May approached, graduation excitement buzzed across campus. 4 years of hard work, sleepless nights, and careful budgeting were culminating in this achievement. I'd been the first in my immediate family to attend a 4-year university, and despite all the obstacles, I was finishing with honors. The thought of walking across that stage, accepting my diploma while wearing the honors cords I'd earned through pure persistence, filled me with quiet pride. 3 months before the ceremony, I mailed formal graduation announcements to family members, including my parents and brother. The elegant cards, purchased with money I'd set aside from my tax return, included all the relevant details: date, time, location, and a personal note expressing my hope they'd attend. I followed up with texts to confirm they'd received the invitations. "Got it," my mother replied tersely. "We'll need to check our calendar." Over the following weeks, I periodically checked in. 2 months before graduation, we're planning to come, but Jason has a possible automotive workshop that weekend. 6 weeks before, yes, we've requested the day off work. 4 weeks before, we'll be there, but we might need to leave right after the ceremony. Finally, 2 weeks before graduation, they confirmed definitively. "We've made arrangements. The 3 of us will attend." Relief washed over me. Perhaps this milestone would help bridge the distance between us. I purchased 4 guest tickets for the ceremony, 1 each for my parents, Jason and Travis. Amber's parents insisted on attending too, so I used my honors student allocation for their tickets. I made dinner reservations at Castellano's, an upscale Italian restaurant near campus. The reservation wasn't cheap, but I wanted to celebrate properly. I even splurged on a new dress for the occasion, a navy blue sheath that looked professional and confident. The night before graduation, I called home for final coordination. "We'll meet you at the Student Center at 9 a.m., I confirmed. The ceremony starts at 11, but graduates need to be in the assembly area by 10. "We'll be there," my father assured me. "Get some sleep, big day tomorrow." Graduation morning arrived with perfect May weather, sunny and 75 degrees with a gentle breeze. I woke early, too excited to sleep. Travis came over to my apartment with coffee and breakfast sandwiches. "Today's your day," he said, kissing my forehead. "I'm so proud of you." At 8:45 a.m., I headed to the Student Center, cap and gown carefully pressed. I waited in the designated meeting area, checking my phone periodically. 9:00 a.m. came and went. By 9:30, with no sign of my family, anxiety crept in. I called my mother straight to voicemail. My father's phone rang several times before disconnecting. I texted all 3 of them. "I'm at the Student Center entrance. Where are you?" At 9:45, my phone finally buzzed with a text from my father. "Car trouble this morning. Won't make it. Sorry. Take pictures." The message landed like a physical blow. Car trouble. The vague excuse felt hollow, especially considering they owned 2 vehicles and lived in an area with rideshare services. I called immediately, no answer. I texted back offering solutions. "I can push back the restaurant reservation. The ceremony will be live-streamed if you can't make it in person." No response. By the time I needed to join the other graduates, I'd accepted that my family wouldn't witness this milestone. Blinking back tears, I straightened my cap and headed to the assembly area. Amber found me there immediately, recognizing something was wrong. "They're not coming," I said, voice cracking slightly. "They're lost," she replied, firmly hugging me. "My parents are already seated, and they brought flowers." and Travis texted he saved seats with them. The ceremony proceeded as planned. When they called my name, Mackenzie Taylor, Bachelor of Business Administration Marketing, summa cum laude, I walked across that stage with my head held high. From the audience, I heard Travis and Amber cheering loudly. Dr. Williams, seated with the faculty, gave me a thumbs up as I passed. The betrayal's full extent became clear that evening. While scrolling through social media after dinner with Travis and Amber's family, I saw a photo posted by our neighbor from back home. It showed a neighborhood barbecue with my parents and brother clearly visible in the background, beers in hand, looking perfectly relaxed. The timestamp 2 p.m. that day. The caption, Annual Memorial Day Weekend Kickoff. Great turnout this year. They hadn't had card trouble. They had simply chosen a barbecue over my graduation. I shut off my phone and focused on enjoying the evening with people who had actually shown up for me. Amber's parents insisted I was their honorary daughter and presented me with a beautiful leather portfolio for my new job. Dr. Williams joined us for dessert, bringing a card signed by several faculty members. Travis gave me a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like an open book. For your next chapter, he said quietly. Their genuine support highlighted the emptiness of my family's absence, but I refused to let that absence define my achievement or dampen my celebration. I had earned this degree through my own determination, and no one could diminish that accomplishment, not even the people who should have been most proud. 2 weeks after graduation, I moved into my new apartment, a modern one-bedroom in a secure building close to Rivers Marketing Group, where I'd started my full-time position. The job was everything I'd hoped for, challenging, creative, with a team that valued my input despite my junior status. My supervisor, Diane, had already assigned me to assist with a major campaign for a regional healthcare provider. The apartment, while small, represented another step toward independence. I'd furnished it sparsely but tastefully, with second-hand finds and a few IKEA pieces Travis helped assemble. The living room featured large windows overlooking a tree-lined street, flooding the space with natural light. For the first time, I had a home that was entirely mine. No roommates, no compromises, no need to justify my choices to anyone. My parents hadn't contacted me since the graduation no-show. I hadn't reached out either, still processing the hurt of their absence and the casual way they'd discarded such an important milestone. We'd fallen into a familiar pattern of silence, one that typically lasted until holiday obligations forced communication. On a Wednesday afternoon, I checked my mailbox to find a card from my grandparents, my father's parents, who lived in Florida. We weren't especially close as they'd moved south when I was young, but they sent birthday and Christmas cards faithfully each year. This envelope, addressed in my grandmother's distinctive handwriting, was unexpected. Inside was a congratulatory graduation card with a thoughtfully written message. Dearest Mackenzie, we are so very proud of your college graduation. What an accomplishment to finish with honors while working your way through school. Your grandfather and I have been setting aside a little money each month since you started college, hoping to help with those student loans we know you've had to take. Please accept this check with all our love. We know you'll put it to good use as you begin your career. Love always, Grandma and Grandpa Taylor. Tucked inside was a check for $2, $100 made out to me. I sat on my couch staring at their generosity with tears in my eyes. They had remembered and honored my achievement when my own parents couldn't be bothered to show up. I immediately called to thank them, having a warm 20-minute conversation during which they expressed genuine interest in my new job and apartment. We wish we could have been there for the ceremony, my grandmother said. But Florida to Ohio is quite a journey at our age. Your card and gift means so much, I assured her. I'll put it directly toward my loans. The very next day, my phone lit up with my mother's name, the first contact in over 2 weeks. Surprised, I answered. Hello? Mackenzie, my mother's voice sounded oddly tight. Did you receive something in the mail recently? The vague question caught me off guard. I've received several things. What are you referring to? A check, she said impatiently. From your grandparents. How did she know about that? Yes, they sent me a graduation gift. It was very thoughtful. Well, her tone shifted to one. I recognized the voice she used when expecting compliance. Your father will be stopping by your apartment tomorrow to pick it up. I blinked in confusion. Pick what up? The check, of course. Your grandparents meant it for us. They just sent it to you by mistake. The claim was so absurd I almost laughed. Mom, the check has my name on it. The card specifically mentioned helping with my student loans. There's no mistake. Her voice hardened. Mackenzie Elizabeth Taylor. Your grandparents send us money occasionally to help with household expenses. This time they accidentally wrote your name. They're elderly. They get confused. Your father will come by around 6 tomorrow. I've already spoken with Grandma and thanked her. They were very clear the gift was for me and my loans. The conversation quickly deteriorated. My mother's voice rose as she insisted the money belonged to them. When I held firm, she passed the phone to my father, whose approach shifted from authoritative to guilt-inducing. Kenzie, he used my childhood nickname deliberately. We've had some unexpected expenses come up. Jason's tuition payment is due, and the house needs a new water heater. That money would really help your family right now. I have expenses too, Dad. My student loans start coming due next month. You have a good job now, he countered. Jason's still in school. Don't you want to help your brother succeed? The familiar pattern of prioritizing Jason's needs above mine triggered a surge of resentment. I took a deep breath. The gift was explicitly for my loans. I'm going to respect Grandma and Grandpa's wishes. My father's tone chilled. We'll see about that. Don't say we didn't ask nicely first. The call ended abruptly. Minutes later, text messages started arriving. Mom, after everything we've done for you, this is how you repay us, Dad. Your grandparents will be very disappointed in your selfishness. Jason, why do you always have to make things difficult for everyone? I silenced my phone, unsettled by their coordinated attack and the odd desperation behind it. This wasn't just about $2, 100 money I legally and ethically had every right to keep. Something else was driving their sudden, intense interest after weeks of silence. That evening, Travis came over with takeout after I explained the bizarre situation. It doesn't make sense, I said, picking at my food. They couldn't be bothered to attend my graduation, but now they're obsessed with this check. Have they had money problems before, he asked. Not that I know of. Dad's job at the dealership always seemed stable, and Mom's been at the same dental practice for years. I paused, remembering something. But that loan they took from my savings years ago, they claimed it was for the mortgage. Travis frowned. Maybe there's something they're not telling you. Whatever it is, I'm not giving them this money, I said firmly. I've earned the right to use my graduation gift for its intended purpose. I couldn't have imagined then how quickly their demands would escalate, or that within days police officers would be standing at my door. The morning after my parents' strange call, I contacted my grandparents again. I needed absolute clarity about their intentions for the gift. Grandma, I hate to bother you about this, but my parents are claiming your check was actually meant for them. They say you just wrote my name by mistake. My grandmother's gentle laugh came through the phone. Oh, heavens no. That money is for you, dear. We've been saving it specifically for your education. Your grandfather and I are so impressed with how you've worked your way through college. They're insisting Dad will come, collect it, I explained. Her voice turned uncharacteristically stern. Mackenzie, that check is in your name for a reason. Your parents have nothing to do with this gift. If they persist, please let me know. Relieved by her confirmation, but concerned about the confrontation ahead, I called my parents back, hoping to resolve the misunderstanding. I've spoken with Grandma again, I explained calmly. She confirmed the gift was intended for me and my student loans. I'm happy to conference her in if you'd like to discuss it directly with her. You called my mother behind my back. My father's voice rose sharply. How dare you drag her into this? She's 82 years old and doesn't need to be stressed about money matters. I just wanted clarity. The clarity is that you're stealing from your family, he cut me off. First, you abandoned us by moving away for college. Now you're taking money that could help your brother's education. You've always been selfish, Mackenzie. The conversation spiraled further as my mother joined in on another extension. Their accusations grew increasingly bizarre and hurtful. According to them, I had been an ungrateful, difficult child who never appreciated their sacrifices. The historical revisionism was staggering. "Don't bother coming home for Thanksgiving," my mother finally spat before hanging up. I sat on my couch shaking with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Their behavior was so disproportionate to the situation that it defied logic. What I didn't expect was the campaign they launched next. Within hours, my phone began lighting up with messages from extended family members. "My Aunt Susan, how could you steal from your parents when they need help with Jason's education? Cousin Beth, everyone's really disappointed in you right now. Uncle Dave, your father says you took money that was meant for family emergencies. That's low, Mackenzie." The narrative they'd created that I had somehow intercepted or stolen money meant for them had spread throughout the family with alarming speed. With each message, I briefly explained the truth, even offering to forward pictures of the card that clearly indicated the gift was for my graduation and student loans. Most relatives either didn't respond or replied with skepticism. By the weekend, the harassment had escalated. My parents called my workplace repeatedly until the receptionist was instructed to block their number. They created fake social media accounts to send messages after I blocked their regular profiles. Then on Monday, they crossed a line that left me truly frightened. I returned from work to find my apartment manager waiting for me in the lobby. "Miss Taylor, I need to speak with you about a concerning call we received today." My parents had contacted the building management, claiming I was engaged in illegal activities in my apartment and should be evicted. They had described themselves as concerned citizens rather than identifying themselves as my parents. "They said you were selling prescription medications from your unit," the manager explained, looking uncomfortable. "Given your perfect tenant history and professional demeanor, I found the accusation suspicious, but I'm required to document all complaints." Mortified, I explained the situation. The manager thankfully was understanding, making note that any future calls from my parents should be treated as harassment. Still, the incident left me deeply unsettled. How far were they willing to go? That evening, Travis helped install a security camera facing my apartment door, connecting it to an app on my phone. "Just as a precaution," he said, but we both knew the situation had escalated beyond a simple family disagreement. "I don't understand why they're doing this," I confessed, leaning against him on the couch. "It's just $2, $100. They've never acted this desperate before." "Maybe check if there's more to the story," Travis suggested. "Could they be having financial troubles you don't know about?" The question prompted me to do some research. A quick social media search revealed concerning patterns I hadn't noticed before. My mother had been posting in online groups about casino promotions and foolproof betting systems. My father's profile showed multiple check-ins at a riverboat casino about an hour from their home. Jason's feed included complaints about having to postpone getting his own place due to family stuff. Travis peered over my shoulder at the evidence. "Gambling issues." "Looks that way," I nodded slowly. "And maybe more serious than I realized." The next day brought the most shocking discovery yet. A former high school classmate who worked at a local bank in my hometown messaged me privately. "Hey Mackenzie, I probably shouldn't say anything, but your dad was in here yesterday trying to cash a check with your name on it. He claimed to have power of attorney for you but couldn't provide documentation. Just thought you should know." They had attempted to forge my signature or otherwise cash my check without my knowledge or consent. The desperation implied by such an action sent a chill through me. This wasn't just about the money anymore. This was about control they no longer had over me and resources they apparently desperately needed. That night, I received a voicemail from my father that confirmed my worst suspicions. "Mackenzie, this isn't a game anymore. We need that money. The bank is threatening foreclosure if we don't make a payment by the end of the week. Your mother and I have covered for you for years, never telling the family about your problems in high school. He paused meaningfully. I'd hate for everyone to find out about those disciplinary issues. The disciplinary issues he referenced were entirely fabricated. I had been an honor roll student with perfect attendance, but the threat to invent damaging lies about my past made his desperation crystal clear. They needed the money to address gambling debts that had apparently spiraled to the point of threatening their home. As much as part of me felt sympathy for their predicament, I refused to be emotionally blackmailed. Their financial problems were not my responsibility, especially when they stemmed from poor choices rather than misfortune. Moreover, their willingness to damage my reputation and livelihood rather than seek proper help for their gambling addiction demonstrated how little they truly cared for my well-being. I saved the voicemail and documented every communication, creating a detailed file of their escalating harassment. Travis stayed over that night, both of us jumping at every sound in the hallway. Sleep came fitfully as I wondered what new tactic my parents might employ next. I couldn't have imagined they would involve law enforcement, but that's exactly what happened next. The knock came at 7:38 p.m. on Tuesday evening. Through my security camera app, I could see 2 uniformed police officers standing outside my apartment door. My heart raced as Travis and I exchanged concerned glances. "Should I wait in the bedroom?" he whispered. I shook my head. "No, I want you here as a witness." Taking a deep breath to steady myself, I opened the door. Mackenzie Taylor, the older officer, asked, consulting a small notebook. "Yes, that's me. I'm Officer Daniels, and this is Officer Reynolds. We're following up on a theft report filed by Karen and Robert Taylor. Do you have a few minutes to speak with us?" The surreal moment I described in the beginning of my story had arrived. My parents had actually filed a police report against their own daughter. I invited the officers inside, grateful for Travis's reassuring presence beside me. "Miss Taylor, your parents have alleged that you've taken possession of cash in the amount of $2,100 that belongs to them. They claim this money was mistakenly sent to you by your grandparents, but was intended for them. Are you aware of this situation?" I maintained my composure as I explained the entire story. The graduation, they skipped the congratulatory card, clearly addressed to me the check written in my name, and my direct conversations with my grandparents confirming their intentions. I have the original card and envelope I offered, retrieving them from my desk drawer. You can see it's addressed to me, specifically mentions my graduation, and refers directly to helping with my student loans. Officer Daniels examined the card while his partner took notes. I continued by showing them my bank statement, where I'd deposited the check along with text messages from my grandparents, reiterating the gift was for me. I've also saved voicemails and texts from my parents that I believe constitute harassment. I added unlocking my phone to show them the evidence I'd compiled. Officer Reynolds raised his eyebrows as he listened to my father's thinly veiled threats. "How long has this been going on?" "About a week intensively, but it's part of a longer pattern of behavior," I explained briefly, summarizing the graduation no-show and history of financial manipulation. After reviewing all the evidence, Officer Daniels closed his notebook. "Miss Taylor, based on what we've seen, this appears to be a civil matter, not a criminal one. The check was written to you. The accompanying card clearly indicates it was a gift for you, and you've verified the gift giver's intentions directly with them. No theft has occurred here." Relief washed over me. "Thank you for understanding." However, he continued, "There's another matter. Your parents also alleged that you stole approximately $2.00 cash from their home during your last visit. Did you remove any cash from their residence at any time?" The accusation blindsided me completely. "Absolutely not. My last visit to their home was over 4 months ago for a brief Sunday dinner. I was never alone in the house and didn't take anything." "When was this theft supposedly discovered?" Travis asked. "The report states they discovered the missing funds last weekend," Officer Reynolds replied. "That's convenient timing," I noted. "They only made this claim after I refused to give them the check from my grandparents." The officers exchanged glances that suggested they'd reached the same conclusion. We have to follow up on all reports, Officer Daniels explained, but without evidence, there's little to investigate regarding the alleged cash theft. As they prepared to leave, Officer Reynolds handed me his card. If the harassment continues or escalates, don't hesitate to contact us. Consider filing for a no-contact order if necessary. After they departed, I collapsed onto the couch, emotionally drained. They actually accused me of stealing cash from their house, I whispered, still processing the shock. They filed a false police report. Travis sat beside me, his arm around my shoulders. This has gone way beyond a family disagreement, Mac. This is serious harassment. That night, I barely slept. The realization that my parents would fabricate criminal allegations against me, their own daughter, was devastating on a level I hadn't experienced before. This wasn't just emotional manipulation. It was a deliberate attempt to create legal trouble for me, potentially threatening my new job and reputation. The next morning, Dr. Williams called after I'd texted her about the situation. "Mackenzie, this has escalated to a point where you need professional advice," she said firmly. "My brother-in-law, Jessica, is an attorney who specializes in harassment cases. I've already spoken with her and she's willing to meet with you this afternoon." "I don't know if I can afford an attorney right now," I admitted. "Her initial consultation is free, and she's a compassionate person. Just talk to her and understand your options." I agreed, grateful for her continued mentorship even after graduation. Jessica Brennan's law office was small but professional, located in a converted Victorian home downtown. With warm eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor, she listened carefully as I detailed the entire situation, occasionally taking notes. "Your parents' behavior displays a troubling pattern of escalation," she observed when I finished. "Filing a false police report is a serious matter. It's fortunate you had documentation to disprove their claims." "What should I do?" I asked. "I'm worried about what they might try next." "First, continue documenting everything. Save texts, emails, voicemails, record dates, and times of calls. Second, I recommend we send a formal cease and desist letter. It may not stop them, but it establishes a paper trail showing you've formally requested they end contact." Jessica outlined several other protective measures I should take: changing passwords on all accounts, alerting my workplace security about potential unwanted visitors, checking my credit report for unauthorized activity. The mention of credit prompted a memory. My parents had access to my social security number and other personal information. Could they have used it somehow? Jessica's expression turned serious. "It's unfortunately common in family situations like this. Let's check your credit report immediately." Using her office computer, we accessed my credit history and discovered the devastating truth. 2 credit cards had been opened in my name over the past year, both carrying balances of several $1,000s. A personal loan for $15,000 had also been taken out 3 months ago. "Identity theft," Jessica stated flatly. "Given the timing and circumstances, it appears your parents have been using your information to obtain credit." The revelation hit like a physical blow. My perfect credit score, something I'd carefully built through responsible financial behavior throughout college, was now damaged by accounts I'd never opened and debts I hadn't incurred. "This explains their desperation for money," I said quietly. "They've maxed out cards in my name and probably needed the $2,100 to make minimum payments." "This changes our approach," Jessica advised. "Identity theft is a serious crime. We need to file police reports for these fraudulent accounts, place fraud alerts on your credit, and begin the dispute process with the creditors." The process seemed overwhelming. How had my life spiraled into this legal nightmare so quickly after graduation? I felt paralyzed by the magnitude of the situation. Travis, who had accompanied me to the appointment, took my hand. "You don't have to handle this alone. I'm here. Dr. Williams is in your corner. Now you have Jessica too." His words anchored me. I'd built a support network of people who genuinely cared about my well-being, people who showed up when it mattered. The contrast with my parents' behavior couldn't have been starker. As we left Jessica's office with a folder of forms and instructions, I felt a strange mix of violation and determination. My parents had crossed unforgivable lines, but I would not allow their actions to derail the life and career I'd worked so hard to build. That evening, I struggled to focus on anything. The identity theft revelation had shaken me profoundly. How long had they been planning this? Had their entire relationship with me been viewed through the lens of what financial benefit I might provide? Sleep eluded me as I imagined worst-case scenarios. Would credit card companies believe I wasn't responsible for these debts? Could my job be affected if my credit was permanently damaged? Would I ever feel safe from my parents' manipulations? For a moment, just a moment, I considered giving them the $2,100 just to make the nightmare stop. The thought of continued confrontation felt exhausting. But surrendering now would only invite further exploitation. The boundary had to be drawn firmly, even if doing so was painful. "I will not be their victim again," I whispered to my darkened bedroom ceiling. The quiet declaration felt like a promise to myself, one I intended to keep no matter what came next. The morning after discovering the identity theft, I met with Jessica again to develop a comprehensive strategy. With her guidance, I filed official police reports documenting the fraudulent accounts opened in my name. The officer taking my statement recognized me from the previous incident. "Family financial exploitation cases are particularly challenging," he acknowledged sympathetically. "But you're doing everything right by documenting and reporting properly." Jessica helped me draft formal dispute letters to each creditor, providing copies of the police reports and requesting full investigations. We placed fraud alerts on my credit files with all 3 major bureaus and initiated a credit freeze to prevent any new accounts from being opened. "These steps will help protect you moving forward," Jessica explained, "but resolving the existing fraudulent accounts will take time and persistence." The implications of the identity theft became painfully apparent when I applied for a more permanent apartment lease. The property manager called with uncomfortable news. "I'm sorry, Miss Taylor, but your application has been declined due to credit concerns. There appears to be significant recent debt and missed payments." Despite my explanation and offering pay stubs proving my income, the apartment management wouldn't budge on their credit requirements. I was forced to remain in my month-to-month rental at a higher rate, another financial consequence of my parents' actions. Travis, witnessing my frustration, spent an evening researching identity theft recovery resources. "My cousin works in banking compliance," he explained. She recommended this financial advisor who specializes in credit restoration for fraud victims. Michael Pearson, the advisor Travis found, reviewed my situation during our first meeting. "Unfortunately, what you're experiencing is not uncommon. Family members are responsible for nearly 30% of identity theft cases, precisely because they have access to personal information." He developed a detailed plan for disputing the fraudulent accounts and rebuilding my credit, warning me the process would likely take 6 to 12 months. The good news is that with proper documentation, most victims can fully recover their credit standing. The bad news is that it requires persistent follow-through. Meanwhile, Amber had been researching my parents' financial situation through public records and social media. "Mac, I think I found something important," she reported during a coffee meetup. "Your parents refinanced their mortgage twice in the past 3 years. The second refinance was just 4 months ago." She showed me county property records indicating a new mortgage significantly higher than the home's original loan. "They've pulled out a lot of equity," she explained. "And look at this." She scrolled to a Facebook post from a mutual hometown acquaintance, showing my parents at a local casino's high roller weekend event 2 months earlier. The caption mentioned they'd won a VIP package through consistent play. "They have a serious gambling problem," I concluded. That explains the desperate need for cash and the identity theft. They've probably maxed out their own credit and home equity. Dr. Williams continued offering support as well, connecting me with campus legal services that provided free assistance to recent graduates. Though they couldn't represent me officially, they offered valuable guidance on documenting the harassment. Create a detailed timeline of all interactions, the student attorney advised. Note dates, times, methods of contact, and preserve all evidence. This documentation will be crucial if you need to pursue legal action. Following this advice, I created a comprehensive file cataloging every interaction with my parents from graduation forward. The pattern of escalation became even clearer when viewed chronologically, from missed graduation to demands for money to false police reports, all within a matter of weeks. As I worked to protect myself legally and financially, my parents' behavior grew increasingly erratic. Having failed to intimidate me with police involvement, they shifted to a new tactic, weaponizing the extended family. My grandmother called one evening, her voice troubled. "Mackenzie, I've been getting concerning calls from your father. He claims you're refusing to help the family during a financial emergency. He says Jason might have to drop out of school because of your selfishness." "Grandma, that's not true," I explained carefully. "There's something I need to tell you about what's really happening." I detailed the identity theft, credit cards, and loan taken in my name without my knowledge or consent. A long silence followed my explanation. Then her voice hardening with resolve. "I suspected something wasn't right. Your grandfather and I will be sending you a notarized statement confirming our gift was intended for you alone. Use it however you need to protect yourself." Their support provided validation I hadn't realized I desperately needed. Someone from my family believed me. Someone understood I wasn't the villain in this story. Travis's steady presence throughout this ordeal proved invaluable. He accompanied me to legal appointments, helped organize documentation, and ensured I wasn't alone when I felt most vulnerable. When I apologized for drawing him into my family drama, he stopped me. "This isn't just drama, Mackenzie. This is serious harassment and criminal identity theft. You deserve support through this. Besides," he added with a gentle smile, "I'm pretty invested in your well-being at this point." As weeks passed, evidence of my parents' financial desperation mounted. Jason finally reached out directly, his message, revealing more than perhaps he intended. "Look, sis, you need to help Mom and Dad out. They can't make the minimum payments anymore, and collections agencies are calling constantly. Dad might lose his job at the dealership if they garnish his wages. Just give them the money from Grandma and Grandpa." I responded carefully. "Jason, the money they need isn't to help you with school, is it? What's really going on?" His reply was telling. "They've had some bad luck at the casino. They were sure they'd win it back with one good weekend, but it didn't happen. Now they're in trouble with some loan people. They said, if you'd just help this one time, everything would be okay." The message confirmed what I'd suspected. My parents' gambling addiction had spiraled out of control, leading to dangerous financial decisions, including identity theft and possibly loan sharks. Their pursuit of my $2,100 wasn't about family support. It was about feeding a destructive addiction. Jessica reviewed all the documentation I'd gathered and recommended we proceed with a formal cease and desist letter. This puts them on notice that their harassment must stop immediately. It also establishes a legal record if we need to pursue a restraining order later. The carefully worded letter detailed all forms of contact that must end: calls, texts, emails, social media messages, workplace contacts messages, through third parties, and physical appearances at my home or office. It outlined the potential legal consequences if the harassment continued. "Is this really necessary?" I asked, staring at the formal document. "They're still my parents." Jessica's expression was compassionate but firm. "Mackenzie, they filed a false police report against you and committed identity theft using your personal information. Their behavior has escalated beyond family disagreement to criminal activity that could seriously impact your future. This letter is absolutely necessary to protect you." With mixed emotions, I authorized Jessica to send the letter by certified mail, requiring signature confirmation. The action felt both empowering and heartbreaking, a formal declaration that our relationship had broken beyond casual repair. As Jessica had warned might happen, the cease and desist letter didn't end my parents' attempts to contact me. If anything, it initially intensified their efforts. but it did provide a clear legal foundation for what would come next. Exactly 1 week after the cease and desist letter was delivered, my building's security system alerted me that someone was buzzing my apartment. Through the intercom camera, I saw my parents standing in the lobby. "Mackenzie, we need to talk to you," my mother's voice crackled through the speaker. "This has gone far enough." I didn't respond, instead texting Travis, who was on his way over. "They're here. Don't engage when you arrive. Go to the side entrance." Then I called Jessica. "My parents are at my building. They've received the cease and desist letter, but are clearly ignoring it. Document everything," she instructed. "If they won't leave, call the police and report the violation. This strengthens our case for a restraining order." I remained in my apartment silently, recording their repeated buzzing attempts through my phone. After 15 minutes, the building manager approached them, likely responding to their continued use of the intercom. Though I couldn't hear the conversation, their body language indicated frustration as they eventually moved outside to the parking lot. Travis arrived through the side entrance as planned, joining me in my apartment. "Are you okay?" he asked, looking concerned. "I'm managing," I replied, still monitoring through the window as my parents paced beside their car. "But I don't think they're leaving." As if confirming my suspicion, my father suddenly pointed toward the building, his expression changing. They hurried toward the main entrance again. "I think someone's letting them in," I realized, with alarm. Sure enough, minutes later, a sharp knock came at my door. Through the security camera, I could see both my parents standing in the hallway. "Mackenzie, open this door right now," my father demanded. "We know you're in there." "We're your parents," my mother added. "You can't hide from us." I texted Jessica again, updating her on the situation. Then, following her earlier advice, I called the police. "I have a cease and desist order against these individuals, and they're currently at my door refusing to leave," I explained to the dispatcher. While waiting for police response, I continued recording as my parents' knocking grew more insistent. My father's voice turned threatening. "You think you can send legal letters and hide behind lawyers? We raised you. We know everything about you. Open this door or things will get much worse." Travis stood beside me, his expression darkening at the threats. Should I say something to them? No, I shook my head. Any engagement just validates their behavior. The police will be here soon. As if summoned by my words, the elevator at the end of the hallway opened, revealing the building manager accompanied by 2 police officers. Through my door camera, I watched as they approached my parents. "Sir, ma'am, we've received a complaint that you're on these premises against the residents' wishes," one officer stated. My father immediately adopted an aggrieved tone. "This is our daughter's apartment. We're just trying to talk to her about a family matter. She sent us a threatening letter," my mother added dramatically. "We're concerned about her mental state." The officer remained professional. "Miss Taylor has legal documentation requesting you cease contact. You're currently in violation of that request. I need to ask you to leave the premises immediately." "This is ridiculous," my father protested. "She's manipulating the situation. She's stolen money from us." "Sir, these are civil matters. What's not civil is refusing to leave private property when asked. You can either leave voluntarily or we can escort you out." The ultimatum left them little choice. With visible reluctance, they allowed themselves to be escorted toward the elevator. As they waited for it to arrive, my mother suddenly turned toward my door. "This isn't over, Mackenzie. Families don't treat each other this way." The irony of her statement might have been amusing under different circumstances. After confirming my parents had left the building, I opened my door to speak with the remaining officer. I provided copies of the cease and desist letter and explained the ongoing situation, including the identity theft and false police report. "We'll file a report about today's incident," the officer assured me. "Given the documented pattern, you should consider applying for a restraining order." Later that evening, Jessica called to discuss next steps. "Today's incident gives us solid grounds for a restraining order. The documented violation of the cease and desist letter demonstrates they don't respect legal boundaries." I agreed to proceed with the application, recognizing that stronger measures were necessary. We scheduled an appointment to prepare the required documentation. That night, I received an unexpected message from my brother Jason, the first direct contact since the police involvement. "Mac, I need to talk to you. Not about the money, about something else. Can we meet somewhere public?" Suspicious but curious, I agreed to meet him at a coffee shop near my office the following afternoon. Travis offered to sit at a nearby table as a precaution. Jason arrived looking uncharacteristically disheveled, his usual confidence replaced by nervous energy. After ordering drinks, we sat at a corner table. "I need to tell you something," he began hesitantly. "About graduation day." My stomach tightened. "What about it?" There was no car trouble. He couldn't meet my eyes. They never intended to come. Though I'd suspected as much after seeing the barbecue photos, hearing the confirmation still hurt. "Why?" "Dad said it wasn't worth the drive just to watch you walk across a stage." They had already promised the neighbors they'd bring their famous potato salad to the barbecue. He fidgeted with his coffee cup. I knew it was wrong, but I went along with it. I helped them craft that text message excuse. The casual cruelty of their decision and my brother's complicity momentarily left me speechless. "Why are you telling me this now?" I finally asked. "Because I'm starting to see things differently," he sighed. "After you left for college, I became their new focus. At first, it felt great getting all the attention and stuff, but lately, it's suffocating. Everything I do is controlled and monitored. When I question anything, they remind me how ungrateful you were and how they don't want me to turn out the same way. So you're experiencing what I dealt with for years," I observed without sympathy. "I guess so." He looked genuinely troubled. "The thing is, I've seen their financial statements accidentally. They're in serious trouble, Mac. Tens of thousands in credit card debt behind on the mortgage. Dad's been gambling with money from work, taking deposits from car sales before reporting them, then replacing the money when he wins. Except he's not winning anymore." The revelation about our father's workplace theft was shocking. He wasn't just risking his credit, but his freedom. "Have they really opened accounts in my name?" I asked. Jason nodded grimly. "Mom has a folder with all your information. Social security card, birth certificate, everything. I saw credit card statements in your name on their desk." His confession provided the missing piece I needed. "Jason, I'm filing for a restraining order against them. I'm also reporting the identity theft to pursue criminal charges. You should know that." Rather than defending them as I expected, he simply nodded. "I figured something like that. That's why I wanted to talk to you directly." He hesitated before adding, "I've been applying to transfer to schools further away. I need to get some distance, too." His admission revealed that my brother, who I'd long perceived as the favored child, was experiencing his own version of our parents' controlling behavior. The realization didn't erase the hurt of his past actions, but it offered a new perspective. As we parted, Jason surprised me with a final comment. "For what it's worth, I was really proud when you graduated with honors. I should have been there." The meeting with Jason provided additional documentation for the restraining order application. His first-hand account of their deliberate decision to skip my graduation, combined with his confirmation of the identity theft, strengthened my case substantially. 2 days later, I filed a formal police report regarding the identity theft, providing all evidence gathered. The detective assigned to the case was direct about potential outcomes. "Given the documentation you've provided and the witness statement from your brother, we have sufficient grounds to pursue charges. You should understand, however, that this will likely result in criminal prosecution of your parents." I took a deep breath, the weight of the decision heavy on my shoulders. "I understand. I need to proceed anyway." When the restraining order was granted the following week, I felt a complex mixture of relief and sadness. The legal document established a 500-foot boundary my parents couldn't cross, prohibited all forms of contact, and carried serious penalties for violations. The formal service of the restraining order coincided with the police department's investigation into the identity theft. Within days, both my parents were called in for questioning regarding the fraudulent accounts. According to Jason, who remained in limited contact with me, they returned home visibly shaken. They didn't expect real consequences, he reported. They kept saying you'd never go through with pressing charges against your own parents, but I had gone through with it. The choice wasn't about vengeance, but protection, protecting my financial future, my safety, and my right to live without harassment. The path forward wouldn't be easy, but for the first time since graduation, I felt a measure of control returning to my life. 3 months after the restraining order went into effect, I sat on the balcony of my new apartment watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and orange. The peaceful moment felt symbolic of the gradual calm returning to my life after the storm of family chaos. The apartment, a secure building with stringent entry protocols, represented more than just a living space. It was a sanctuary I'd created, decorated with plants, artwork, and furniture that reflected my personality and preferences without judgment or criticism. My professional life had flourished despite the personal turmoil. Rivers Marketing had recognized my dedication and performance, promoting me to junior marketing manager with a modest but meaningful salary increase. My supervisor, Diane, had been surprisingly understanding about the legal proceedings, adjusting my schedule when necessary for court appearances. "Life happens," she'd said simply. "You've never let it affect your work quality. That's what matters." The promotion allowed me to begin repaying my student loans more aggressively. I'd used my grandparents' gift as planned, applying the $2,100 toward the principal on my highest interest loan. According to my calculations, this single payment would save me nearly $1.00 interest over the life of the loan, a tangible benefit my parents had tried to steal. The credit nightmare was slowly improving as well. Michael Pearson, the financial advisor Travis had recommended, guided me through the painstaking process of disputing fraudulent accounts. 2 credit cards had been completely removed from my record, and the personal loan was under investigation. My credit score, while not fully recovered, had risen nearly 100 points from its lowest point. "You're doing everything right," Michael assured me during our monthly review. Most identity theft victims take 1 to 2 years to fully restore their credit. "You're ahead of schedule." Perhaps most significant was the development of what I'd come to think of as my chosen family relationships, built on mutual respect, genuine care, and consistent support. Travis had become an unwavering presence in my life, our relationship deepening through shared experiences both challenging and joyful. We'd recently begun discussing the possibility of moving in together when my lease expired. Amber remained my most trusted friend, her loyalty never faltering during the family crisis. Her parents continued treating me as an honorary daughter, including me in holiday gatherings and family celebrations. Dr. Williams maintained her mentorship role regularly, meeting for coffee to discuss career development and occasionally checking in on my personal well-being. Even Jessica, whose relationship had begun as strictly professional, had evolved into something warmer. After the legal proceedings concluded, she invited me to join a support group for adults navigating family estrangement, a space where I found understanding without judgment. The identity theft case against my parents had progressed through the legal system. Faced with overwhelming evidence, including Jason's testimony and documented financial records, they accepted a plea agreement. The terms included probation, mandatory financial counseling, and full restitution for all fraudulent charges. The criminal record would remain a consequence they couldn't manipulate or escape. Setting boundaries with extended family proved challenging but necessary. Some relatives, particularly those who had known my parents longest, maintained that I should forgive and forget regardless of their actions. "They're still your parents," my Aunt Susan insisted during an uncomfortable phone call. "Family is family." Respectfully, I replied, "being family doesn't grant permission to commit crimes against me. I'm not pursuing this out of vindictiveness. I'm protecting myself." Other relatives, after learning the full story, offered unexpected support. My grandmother's sister Elizabeth called me directly. "I've watched your parents' behavior for years," she confided. "The way they treated you compared to your brother always troubled me. "You're doing the right thing, establishing boundaries." Such validation helped counter the lingering self-doubt that occasionally surfaced. Was I overreacting? Should I have given them more chances? The cognitive dissonance of grieving a relationship while acknowledging its toxicity created emotional whiplash on difficult days. My therapist Sarah, whom I'd begun seeing shortly after the restraining order, provided valuable perspective during these moments. Family estrangement is rarely a single decision, she explained. It's typically the culmination of many boundary violations over time. The fact that you're questioning yourself shows your capacity for reflection, but it doesn't mean you've made the wrong choice. Through weekly sessions, I worked to untangle the complex web of family dynamics that had shaped my perceptions of love, worth, and relationships. I discovered patterns I'd unconsciously carried from childhood: people-pleasing tendencies, difficulty expressing needs, suspicious of generosity, and developed strategies to recognize and address these behaviors. Perhaps most surprisingly, my relationship with Jason had begun a cautious rebuild. After his initial confession about graduation day, he'd maintained limited but consistent contact. He transferred to a technical college in Indianapolis, creating his own distance from our parents' influence. "I understand why you couldn't tell me what was happening before," he said during one phone call. "I wouldn't have believed you then. I needed to see it for myself." While the hurt of his past betrayals hadn't fully healed, I recognized his efforts to grow beyond the favoritism that had shaped our early relationship. We were navigating unfamiliar territory, relating as adults rather than competitors for parental approval. 6 months after the restraining order, I received a letter from my parents forwarded through their attorney. The envelope contained a check for $2,100, the amount of my grandparents' gift they had tried to take, along with a note. "Mackenzie, we're addressing our problems through counseling and financial management classes. We recognize our behavior was unacceptable. This repayment is the first step toward making amends. When you're ready, we would like to discuss rebuilding our relationship. Karen and Robert Taylor." The carefully worded message, notably lacking a direct apology or acknowledgement of specific wrongdoing, revealed they still didn't fully grasp the magnitude of their actions. The check, while symbolically important, represented only a fraction of the financial and emotional damage they'd caused. After discussing it with my therapist, I decided to deposit the check but not respond to their reconciliation overture. Any potential rebuilding of our relationship would require demonstrated change over time, not simply declarations of intent. It would necessitate full accountability, genuine remorse, and respect for my boundaries, elements conspicuously absent from their message. "Reconciliation isn't an obligation," Sarah reminded me. "It's a possibility that depends on everyone involved doing their emotional work. You can acknowledge their steps toward change without opening yourself to further harm." I applied the repayment to my student loans as originally intended, coming full circle on the financial aspect of the conflict. The emotional aspects would take longer to resolve, perhaps a lifetime of careful boundaries and measured expectations. As I reflect on this journey from graduate to identity theft victim to advocate for my own well-being, I recognize how fundamentally my understanding of family has transformed. True family isn't defined by biology, but by love expressed through respect, support, and consistent care. It's built on celebrating achievements rather than diminishing them, on honoring boundaries rather than violating them, on nurturing growth rather than controlling it. My parents' actions, ghosting my graduation, then demanding money that wasn't theirs initially, seemed like isolated incidents. In reality, they were symptoms of deeper patterns that had shaped our family dynamic for decades. Recognizing these patterns allowed me to break free from them, to establish healthier relationships, and to define success on my own terms. Today, I'm building a life aligned with my values, rather than reactions to parental manipulation. I'm discovering who Mackenzie Taylor truly is when not constrained by others' expectations. The path hasn't been easy, but it has led to authentic connections, professional fulfillment, and growing self-acceptance. Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with family members? How did you navigate maintaining your well-being while managing family expectations? Share your experiences in the comments below. Your story might help someone else feeling alone in their family struggles. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you. Subscribe to join our community of boundary builders, and share with someone who might need to hear this message. Thank you for listening to my journey, and remember, you deserve relationships that honor your worth, even when those relationships are with family.